My parents taught us that love had a price, and that price was betrayal. I learned that when I was 4 years old and my brother sold me out over a juice stain. We were alone upstairs. I'd spilled a few drops of cranberry juice on the beige carpet and panicked. I took off my t-shirt, spit on it, and started scrubbing. My brother didn't even wait for me to fix it. He ran downstairs, eager, excited. Told Dad I made a mess. Called me clumsy. I didn't hear what he said exactly, but I heard the drawer open. That sound still makes my skin crawl. It meant the belt or the whip was coming out. That time it was the whip. I buried my face in the pillow before the first lash. 3 strikes. No dinner. A new bruise for each night of the week. I remember the sounds from downstairs more than the pain. Mom gushing over Liam, calling him a good boy, a responsible young man. Dad beaming. Their golden child. I was 4. Liam was 6. That was the moment I learned what they valued. Loyalty to them, not each other. Snitching wasn't just encouraged, it was currency. The twins were born that year. Riley and Tessa. Tiny, pink, perfect. They got affection for a while. Sweet names. Bedtime songs. But by the time they were 3, the system kicked in. Love became something you earned by reporting your siblings. Hugs for tattles. Ice cream for betrayal. My parents turned us into spies. Undercover agents against our own blood. Me? I stopped talking. I figured out early that silence was the safest choice. But even silence couldn't save me. I got beat for crumbs on the plate. For not folding my clothes right. For crying too loud. For not crying enough. For letting a bruise show at school. By 10, I knew how to fake sleep. How to flinch before the blow landed. How to make bruises fade faster. And still, I kept my mouth shut. Even when I saw Tessa sneak cookies or Riley break the remote. I didn't want to be like Liam. They loved Liam. And the twins? They wanted to be him. Especially Tessa. She started watching me like I was a threat. Like if she pointed out enough of my flaws, she'd earn what I never got. When I finally got out, barely scraped into college, I swore I was done. No more crawling. No more trying. I crashed on the floor of a friend's dorm and worked 2 jobs just to afford ramen. And for a while, I thought I'd escaped. Until the night Riley called me. Her voice was a whisper. I'm sorry. Please help me. Then the line went dead. I didn't wait. I got in my car and drove all night. Found her outside the old house, bruised and shaking. We didn't speak. I just grabbed her hand, loaded her into the car, and drove. That was the last time we saw that house. But it wasn't the end. Not even close. We didn't have a plan. Just distance. I drove for hours. Kept checking the rearview mirror like our parents might materialize out of the darkness. Riley sat in silence, knees to her chest, hands trembling. At one point, she reached out and turned up the heater without saying a word. We crossed state lines just before sunrise. I pulled into a gas station and finally spoke. You hungry? She nodded. I got us 2 lukewarm breakfast sandwiches and a couple bottled waters. We sat in the car, unwrapping them like strangers. It wasn't until halfway through hers that she said it. Tessa didn't say a word, just watched. Her voice was hoarse, like it hadn't been used in days. When it started, I screamed. I thought maybe she'd run and tell someone. But she didn't. She just stood there. My hands tightened around the steering wheel. Dad, she nodded. Looked down at her lap. Mom told me it was my fault. Said I brought it on myself. Said I was getting too old to be acting out. I asked if I could call you. She slapped me. Hard. Said you were dead to us. I breathed through my teeth. In. Out. Slow. Controlled. But the rage burned hot and bright. You're not going back. Ever. She nodded again. I know. We spent the day in cheap motels and quieter highways. She slept through most of it, curled up against the window like a cat trying to disappear. By nightfall, I had a plan. Ethan, my old dorm roommate. Good guy. The kind who'd share his last dollar if you needed it. I shot him a message. Me. Got a situation. Need a place for a bit. Just me and someone else. It's urgent. He replied almost instantly. Ethan, you good, man? You okay? Me. Not really. But she's worse. Can we crash? Ethan, yeah. I'll clear the floor. Come through. We pulled into his apartment building just after 11. Riley didn't ask where we were. She just followed me up the stairs, hoodie pulled tight over her face. Ethan opened the door. Same messy curls. Same paint-stained hoodie. He took one look at Riley's face and didn't say a word. She can take my bed, he said. I'll grab the couch. I nodded. Tried to say thank you, but the words stuck. He just clapped me on the shoulder and disappeared into the kitchen. That night, I sat on the floor and watched her sleep. I saw the bruises clearer under the lamplight. Faint fingerprints on her upper arms. A swollen mark near her collarbone. I wanted to scream. I wanted to go back and burn that house to the ground. But I stayed still. I stayed quiet. Because she needed peace more than I needed justice. The next few days were quiet. Riley barely left the room. Ethan tiptoed around like we were living with a ghost. I worked double shifts at a cafe near campus. Told my boss it was for rent, which wasn't a lie. But that peace didn't last. Because monsters don't sleep forever. 3 days later, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Voicemail, Liam. This is your father. Bring her home. Now. Or we call the police. You don't want to go down for kidnapping. I played it 3 times. Then I deleted it. I looked at Riley, sitting cross-legged on Ethan's bed, staring at the window like she was somewhere else entirely. They found us. She didn't flinch. Just nodded. I figured. We'll find a new place. She shook her head. They'll keep coming. And that's when I realized we weren't hiding. We were running. From people who would never stop. Unless we made them. We moved her the next day. Marina from Psych 101 had a spare storage room in her off-campus place. Small, windowless, barely enough space for a twin mattress, but it had a lock. And right now, that was everything. Riley didn't ask questions. She just carried her backpack and said thank you like her life depended on it. Marina didn't pry either. Just showed us the room and left a granola bar on the makeshift nightstand. It's not much, she said, but no one will bother you here. It was safer than the dorms. Ethan's RA had started asking questions, and I wasn't about to risk her getting caught because I didn't act fast enough. Riley slept for 13 hours straight that first night. I sat on the couch with Marina and her roommates, Jade and Harper, pretending to laugh at a sitcom I couldn't hear over my own thoughts. The bruises, the silence, the way she flinched when someone shut a door too hard. All of it played on a loop in my head. Harper caught me staring at nothing. You okay? I nodded. Just tired. They didn't push. Bless them for that. For the first time in years, I felt surrounded by people who understood what kindness looked like without asking for anything in return. But peace never sticks. 3 days later, I got a visitor at the cafe where I worked. I was in the middle of making a latte when I looked up, and there was Caleb, my older brother. Same smug expression, same North Face jacket, same everything. He waited until my shift ended. Didn't order anything. Just leaned against the counter like he owned the place. Can we talk? He asked, as I peeled off my apron. Depends, I said, walking him to the back patio. Is this a rescue mission or a trap? He chuckled. You always did have a flair for drama. I didn't smile. I folded my arms. Say what you came to say. He sat on a cold metal chair and looked around like we were about to make a drug deal. They're freaking out, Liam. You know that, right? Mom hasn't slept. Dad's ready to press charges. Let him. She's underage. You took her across state lines. It's serious. I stared at him, dead in the eye. You know what he did? To me. To her. You saw. He didn't flinch. Just sighed. They're still our parents. No. They're your parents. I'm done pretending they were ever mine. His jaw tightened. Look, I'm not here to fight. I just want to talk to her. Let me see her. 5 minutes. That's it. No. Why not? She's my sister too. Because she's finally sleeping through the night without fear. Because she's not ready to see the people who watched her suffer. I didn't lay a hand on her. No. You just kept quiet. He stood, eyes hard. You think this makes you a hero? Playing savior while she hides in a closet? I stepped closer, inches away. No. It makes me her brother. Something you forgot how to be. He looked like he might hit me. But then he backed off. Shoved his hands into his pockets. They know where you work. You won't be able to hide forever. I nodded slowly. Then let them come. That night, I found Riley curled up with a book, something Marina had lent her. She looked up. Did someone come? I hesitated. Then nodded. Caleb. She closed the book. He wanted to see you. Did you let him? No. Her shoulders dropped in relief. Thank you. You okay? She shook her head. Not yet. But better. That was enough. Until the next morning. Someone slipped a photo under the apartment door. It was us, me and Riley, walking into Marina's building. Written in black Sharpie on the back, we know where you are. We stared at the photo in silence. Riley touched the corner of the print, like maybe if she smudged it enough, it would disappear. They followed us, she whispered. Looks that way, I said, taking the picture and flipping it again. No return address. Just a message scribbled like a threat. We know where you are. Marina found us like that. Me standing, fists clenched. Riley frozen on the couch. What happened? She asked. I handed her the photo. Her expression darkened. That was slid under the door? I nodded. Sometime this morning. We have to call someone. We can't. If CPS gets involved, they'll spin it. Say I kidnapped her. They'll drag her back. Marina sat next to Riley, hand on her shoulder. Then we outsmart them. Whatever it takes. That night, I slept by the door. A kitchen knife under the pillow. Every sound outside made my blood run cold. In the morning, Riley asked something I wasn't ready for. Can we go to the police? The real ones? I didn't answer at first. She tried again. If I show them the bruises, if I tell them everything, would they believe me? I wanted to say yes. God, I wanted to believe in that world. Maybe, but it's risky. You're still a minor. And they're good at twisting stories. She looked down. Then what do? We document everything. We build proof. We get ahead of them. We spent the next 2 days photographing her injuries in natural light. I helped her write down every instance of abuse she could remember. Dates. Places. What was said. Who was in the room. Marina's roommate Jade had a cousin who worked with a local nonprofit that helped abuse survivors. She gave us a number. A burner phone. A contact name. Tanya. I called her from a payphone across campus. Tanya speaking. Hi. My sister and I, we need help. She's in danger. We're hiding. They found us. Take a breath. Tanya said, calm but focused. Start at the beginning. I told her everything. Not the sugar-coated version. The truth. About the beatings. The silence. The photo under the door. She didn't interrupt. Didn't flinch. When I finished, she asked, can she speak for herself? Yes. Then we can help. But you have to be ready. Once this starts, it doesn't stop. Court filings. Protection orders. Maybe even relocation. Whatever it takes. I hung up and walked back to the apartment feeling like I'd stepped into someone else's life. Inside, Riley was braiding her hair. It was the first normal thing I'd seen her do in weeks. How'd it go? We've got someone. She's ready to help. Riley nodded slowly. Then I guess it's time. The next morning, we met Tanya in person. Neutral ground. A cafe downtown, public but quiet. Riley clutched a folder in her lap. The photos, the journal, a copy of her ID. Tanya arrived exactly on time. She looked like someone who didn't blink when things got hard. Hi, Riley, she said gently. I've heard a lot about you. Riley didn't speak, just handed over the folder. Tanya flipped through it carefully. No dramatic reactions, just quiet, professional focus. Then she looked up. You've been through hell, but you did everything right. Riley's eyes welled up. She blinked fast, refusing to cry. We'll file for an emergency protection order, Tanya continued. Once we have that, they can't come near you. If they try, they'll be arrested. I exhaled, for the first time in what felt like forever. But peace is never clean. 2 hours later, as we walked back to the apartment, I got a text from Ethan. Ethan, dude, your dad's here. He's been asking around. Followed by another. Ethan, he said something about a warrant. I think he knows about Tanya. Riley read over my shoulder. We have to move. Tonight. And this time, it wasn't just fear in her voice. It was fury. We packed in under 10 minutes. No time for strategy. Just survival. Marina tossed us a duffel bag and cash from her emergency stash. Don't use your cards, she said. They'll trace it. Take the subway 2 stops, then call this guy. She pressed a folded slip of paper into my hand. He owes me. He'll hide you. I didn't ask questions. Marina was the kind of person who got things done. The kind of person you trust when everything's burning. Riley pulled her hood tight. Her hands were shaking, but her jaw was set. Let's go, she said. The station was nearly empty. Just the faint buzz of fluorescent lights and the slow rumble of a train pulling in. We rode in silence. I checked every face in the car, twice. When we got off, we ducked into a coffee shop and used the bathroom to change clothes. Riley swapped her hoodie for one of mine. I threw on a hat and sunglasses like we were walking into a spy movie. Then I called the number. Yeah. The voice on the other end was deep, gruff. Marina sent me. Said you could help. A long pause. Names. Liam. And my sister Riley. Another pause. Be outside the train yard. East side. 20 minutes. He hung up. We walked fast. Every sound felt too loud. Every stranger felt like a spy. When we got there, a beat-up white van was waiting. The driver was older, mid-50s, salt and pepper beard, military stance. He didn't speak, just unlocked the side door. Get in. We did. The ride was silent. I watched out the window. Riley stared at the floor. Finally, he pulled into a gated driveway behind what looked like an old mechanic's shop. There's a room in the back, he said, tossing me a key. No one asks questions here. You stay low, you stay safe. I reached for my wallet. He shook his head. Marina already paid me. You're covered. Riley looked up at him, voice quiet. Why are you helping us? He met her eyes. Something flickered there, pain, recognition. Because someone once helped my sister get away, too. The room was bare. One cot. A sink. No windows. But the lock worked. And for now, that was enough. I made Riley a makeshift bed from jackets. We split a vending machine sandwich. I kept my phone off. The next morning, Tanya called the burner. They filed a report, she said. Claimed you manipulated her. That you're dangerous. They're pushing hard. What now? Now? We go public. We take the story away from them. You up for that? I looked at Riley. She was sitting cross-legged on the floor, braiding her hair like it was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. She met my eyes. Nodded. Let's burn it down. We spent the day recording. Tanya had a contact, independent journalist, small but fierce. We told our story. Names, dates, injuries, memories we hadn't said out loud in years. Riley's voice cracked halfway through. I used to think I was broken, that something was wrong with me. But it wasn't me. It was them. It was always them. By the time we finished, I couldn't feel my hands. That night, the article went live. Headline: Escaping Silence. Siblings tell their story of abuse, power, and survival. The next morning, everything changed. Because for once, we weren't the ones being hunted. We were being heard. The fallout came fast. Within 24 hours, the article exploded. Thousands of shares. Hundreds of comments. Survivors, strangers, people who knew our parents casually, and those who'd always suspected something was wrong, suddenly had words for it. Proof. Tanya texted us screenshots. A former neighbor. One of Riley's old teachers. Even Caleb. He left a single comment under the story. I knew. I didn't stop it. I'm sorry. I stared at those 10 words for a long time. Not forgiveness. But something cracked open inside me. Maybe that's where it starts. The article triggered a mandatory investigation. Child Protective Services called Tanya. The nonprofit arranged lawyers for both of us. Riley was finally heard. Legally. Officially. And something in her posture changed. She didn't hunch anymore. Didn't flinch at small sounds. She started sitting upright, holding eye contact. And then, one night, she smiled. Not a fake one. Not the tight-lipped kind she used to wear like armor. A real one. It was over a dumb movie. Something Marina's roommates were watching. Riley let out this full, unguarded laugh, then immediately looked around, like she wasn't allowed. You're allowed to be happy, I said. She nodded. Still feels weird. You'll get used to it. A week later, we were summoned. Court. The judge was a woman. Mid-40s. Sharp eyes. Tired, but kind. Tanya stood beside us. Our lawyer made his case. Riley testified. She didn't cry. She didn't shake. She told the truth. I was hurt in that house. By the people who were supposed to protect me. I don't want to go back. I want to stay with my brother. The room was quiet. Even the judge looked shaken. After deliberation, she granted a protective order. Full temporary guardianship transferred to me. Emergency relocation approved. We walked out of that courtroom into sunlight, so bright it almost hurt. Riley squinted, then laughed again. We did it. I nodded. Yeah, we did. That night, we slept without fear for the first time in our lives. No backup plans. No knives under pillows. Just sleep. The next morning, I checked the news. The article had gone national. Talk shows, podcasts, calls from advocacy groups. Tanya said we could decline all of it, but Riley didn't want to. If even one person gets out because of this, then it's worth it, she said. So we said yes. We told our story again. On camera. To microphones. In rooms full of people who once would have called us dramatic or liars. Now, they called us brave. But I didn't feel brave. I felt tired. Grateful. Fierce. And free. Freedom is strange at first. It's quiet. Almost too quiet. After years of survival mode, Stillness feels like something's wrong. We moved into a temporary apartment through the nonprofit. Small, clean, fully paid for 6 months. Riley picked the bedroom with the corner window. She filled it with sunlight, posters, and plants she kept forgetting to water. I got a job at a warehouse. Night shifts. Quiet work. Just me, a pallet jack, and a playlist of soft piano to keep my head clear. We didn't talk about the past every day, but it lingered. Some mornings she'd flinch at her reflection. Some nights I'd wake up gasping from dreams of the old house. One afternoon, we came back to find a letter slid under the door. No envelope. Just one sheet of paper. Typed. You think this makes you a hero? You broke this family. One day, she'll see you for what you are. No name. I crushed it in my hand and threw it out. Riley didn't ask what it said. She just stared at me, waiting. They won't stop, I finally said. She walked over, took my hand, and said, then neither will we. A few weeks later, we were invited to speak at a survivors panel downtown. Riley hesitated at first. What if someone from school sees? What if they think I'm just damaged? Then they're not worth knowing. She smiled, faint but real. Can you come with me? Always. She stood up there like she owned the room. Her voice only cracked once, and when it did, she kept going. People cried. People stood. A woman in the front row clutched her chest the whole time. Afterward, a teenage girl walked up, trembling. Your story, it's mine too, she said. I've never told anyone. Until now. And Riley, my kid sister, who used to sleep curled into herself like the world might swallow her whole, hugged that girl like a lighthouse. That night, we sat on our tiny balcony and watched the city lights flicker. Do you ever think about them? She asked. All the time, but not the way I used to. She nodded. Me too. I lit a candle we got from the panel, one of those symbolic things they hand out with a ribbon. What now? She asked. I exhaled. We live. We try. We heal. Slowly. Loudly. However we want. And in that moment, I realized something. We weren't broken. We were rebuilding. Piece by jagged piece. And this time, we were doing it together. It's been a year. 1 full year since the night she called me. Since we left the house we were supposed to call home and started building something better, something real. I keep a calendar with that day circled. Not to mourn it. To honor it. Riley calls it her Independence Day. She's 17 now. Senior year. Honors classes. Part-time job at a bookstore where they let her decorate the YA section like a fairy tale. She's got friends who don't flinch. Teachers who listen. Therapists who don't treat her like a diagnosis. Sometimes she still has bad nights. So do I. But they don't own us anymore. Last week, she got her acceptance letter, full ride to a university out west. She screamed, then cried, then punched me in the shoulder because I cried, too. You okay? She asked, when I didn't stop. I'm just proud. That's all. You did this, you know, she said. You gave me this shot. No, I said. You took it. And it's true. I might have pulled her out, but she's the one who stood up. She's the one who testified. The one who said yes to healing even when it was hard. She made herself whole. And me? I'm still figuring it out. But I'm okay. Really okay. I see a counselor now. I journal. I'm learning that survival isn't shameful, and softness isn't weakness. Sometimes I even laugh without checking the room. We've started writing letters, not to send, but to say the things we never could. Mine always start the same way. Dear Mom and Dad, I hope someday you understand what you broke. And I hope someday you learn to fix it, just not with us. Because forgiveness isn't a door they get to walk through. It's a boundary we built, brick by brick. Last weekend, we boxed up the last of our things from the temporary place. Marina helped. So did Tanya. Even Ethan showed up with pizza and jokes too corny to laugh at, which made them funnier. As we were leaving, Riley turned back, looked at the empty apartment, and whispered something. I asked what she said. She looked at me, smiled, and said, "Thank you for coming back." I didn't know she even remembered that night. "You saved me," she said. I shook my head. We saved each other. And maybe that's what this whole story was always about. Not just surviving trauma. Not just escaping abuse. But choosing to stay when someone you love whispers into the dark, "Please help me." And answering, always.